dad's coat at a show. The sound man found it, don't you know? It took a while for me to get it back, but we stayed in touch and made each other laugh. And then we found a date that fit to meet up. We recorded it in a hotel. That's how the Blue Coat Diaries started. Hello, people of the universe, and welcome to a very special bonus episode of the Blue Coat Diaries. Bonus because I'm away right now on a holiday in Dorset, having a nice time, probably eating a scone or a scone. You say, well, how do you say that, Mark? Scone or scone?
We had this conversation the other week, dude, and I think it's a scone. You told me you'd excommunicate me if I called it a scone.
No, it's the other way around. I call it a scone.
I think you've got cross wires here. That's not how it went. I've got video and audio evidence of this.
I don't say scone. That's what posh people say. Scone.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Can I have a scone?
Look,
yeah.
I think we're getting too deep into the weeds on this already. Okay, so are you going West Country? Is that where you're going?
Listen.
Or where you are currently, Doctor Who, or whatever your time traveling.
I've heard that out there are awards for podcasts, and I'm pretty confident that we are
not going to win
generating some material right now that will be used. They'll play it when they do the nominations. So they go, the nominations are, and they go,
right,
the Blue Coat Diaries, and it will go straight to this bit of scone material. Anyway, I'm on holiday. That's the point I'm making. But
you're on holiday.
A super duper guest. We've got a special guest today. We mentioned her last week. Her name is Kezia Gill. She's already brilliant and already amazing. But I'm telling you, Mark, I'm good at predicting these things. I think she's going to become a huge star, and she's going to be on the show very soon. Mark, are you okay?
I am okay. I'm fine. It's been a busy couple of weeks,
just because
days, months.
You look very dishevelled today.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, it's always the confident boost that I need when I come on here and you say how tired I look, because I do look really tired. I look like I've been living in a field for 4 days, which we're not going to talk about because we've got to time travel, and we've got to talk about that in a bit when we release the one that goes out before this one.
Yeah, let's not confuse everyone, but we will talk about that at another point. So here's the thing. Kezia's coming on soon, and as you know, listeners, we don't ask questions to our guests because we know that we'd mess that up. So we have built, well, I say we, it's like the royal we. Mark has built a droid for that very purpose. Now, he's not been on this season yet. We've mentioned him, but he's not been on. So we're very excited because we're going to fire him up for the first time. Let's hope he works. Let's hope he's not like,
I mean, who knows? I mean, it's arguable that he doesn't particularly work very well, running at optimum.
On a good week. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But before we fire him up, I think it's time to have his jingle, which we've not heard for ages. So let's have WD41's theme tune.
Okay, let's. I've got a button.
He's a robot droid, and you'll miss him when he's gone. He's WD41.
It's been a while since I've heard that, Johnny.
Remember the first time I played you that? And you think you said something like that? Well, that is a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
To give him his full title is WD. Whoa! I can't do that today. My voice is totally not hitting those notes. 4-1. So WD41, if you've not listened to the podcast before, perhaps you're tuning in because in fact, you probably will be tuning in because you're a big Kezia Gill fan and you're thinking, I can't wait for this interview. So just to explain it, Mark made a droid that can use AI to create questions. So that is all genuinely going to happen in a moment. It's going to think, isn't it, Mark? Like a Terminator.
It is. I mean, do you want me to boot him up and we'll have a quick chat and see what he's been up to?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see how he is. He says hello, Johnny.
Hey, WD41, how you doing? It's so nice that you're back on the show. Like, really excited to have you with us. How are you getting on?
He called you a fucking sycophant.
Okay.
What have you been up to, WD41? Okay. Well, he said he's mostly been working as a ticket touting bot, scamming tickets off of comedy shows, and he's now in an open relationship with an air fryer.
Okay, well, air fryers don't get enough of a mention on this show. Mark, you touch on that every single week. Like, you're definitely trying to get like a product placement thing with that. The week one gets sent to us, you're going to be like, it's like Christmas Day for you when that turns up.
Mate, I'm never going to hear the end of it from Toby from the Brain Drain podcast over at the skateboarding one.
Right.
If we don't get one.
It's good to have you back, WD41. Please try and cut the swearing down to a minimum, because we've got a very special guest coming on in a moment and we don't want to put her off or annoy her because she's brilliant. So
I'll try and filter it out.
We'll get through loads of this when we talk to her, but I saw Kezia play a show and she was so impressive, and I became a fan on the spot. And I found out at that show, because she mentioned it, that recently she supported The Boss. She supported Bruce Springsteen at Hyde Park. I'm not going to read out like a Wikipedia thing about all these different things she's done, because we talk about that. But also, what more do you need to know? Good enough for The Boss, good enough for the Blue Coat Diaries podcast and you, WD41. Don't you think, Mark?
I think possibly a bit too good, but we're going to we're not gonna, we're gonna take this one.
We have said that before about guests we've had. We have off air said, how is this guest? Like, how have we managed to get this guest? They're way too good for this podcast. So let's not break trend. We'll do that again. Shall we see if we can get Kezia into the room? Is she in the lobby? Can we do that?
I think we can do that.
Okay. Please welcome to the podcast, all the way from Derby, the amazing Kezia Gill, everybody. Whee!
Hooray! Great waiting room, guys. Great waiting room. Good selection of magazines.
Oh, cool. We might need to notch the mic down a little bit, Kezia. It's gone up a bit. But yes, I'm glad you liked the waiting room. It's better than Johnny's. We did hang some pictures in it rather than just this bland, limbo for the apocalypse that Johnny sits in every week.
Did you make use of the snacks in the waiting room, Kezia? Did you help yourself to anything? What did you have? Any sweets or
Yeah, I left the nuts because, a choking episode could have been imminent, and that's never good for audio. Yeah. But yeah, the free martinis were much appreciated.
Well, this podcast is fueled on such things. So listen, first of all, thank you for coming on. We are both very excited about having you here. Yeah. And second of all, we need to introduce you to our droid. He's just slightly camera shy now. We've gone to YouTube with this podcast, so he's slightly off camera. But yeah, I'm sure he'll say hello, Mark, won't he? I'm sure he'll say hello to Kezia.
He says hello, Kezia.
It's quite a flirty tone as well.
It was quite flirty.
He was a bit flirtatious there.
I'm going to have to watch him.
I mean, he's... You do have to watch him. He gets a bit out of hand pretty quickly, actually.
I'm no air fryer, but,
Things you weren't expecting to say today.
Absolutely. So it begins.
He is going to come up with some questions for you. Mark will translate, but are you ready to be interviewed by our droid?
As ready as I will ever be.
All right, let's go for it then, Mark. Come on.
All right. WD, can we have a question for Kezia? Okay. WD says, in the fast-paced music industry, it is easy to get caught up in the hustle. How do you find time to relax and unwind, and what's your go-to activity to recharge your creative batteries?
Oh, good question, WD. I've actually been asked this one before, and so the answer never changes, and it's really boring, but I love cleaning.
Right, okay.
I know.
I apologise for the nervous breakdown you must be having, seeing what's behind me.
Mark's looking for a cleaner.
I'll be there in an hour.
You're only down road.
It's because the music industry is quite... it's up and down. There's never any set destination. There's never any sort of... I know what I'm doing and where I should be, but there's never any real end goal. And it's quite, like you said, fast paced. Things can change up all the time. And I like regime. I like to know what I'm doing, what the task is, and what the end result will be. And I don't always get that with music. So with, say, cleaning, say, for example, cleaning my mirror, I know what I need to do. I can do the task and I end up with a lovely streak-free mirror. And it gives me an enormous sense of well-being because it's a task. I do it. I achieve what I went to set out, you know, and music's just not like that. You can apply to play a festival, you do everything you're supposed to do, and then you get the rejection email and you're like, but I did everything I was supposed to do. And I like the reward of cleaning something or organising something. Like, you know, we've all got that crazy drawer that's just full of everything in the house that has no home. I cleaned that recently and I can honestly say the satisfaction that gave me probably outshines any gig I've ever done.
I get it.
I had currency from countries that don't even exist anymore. It's like,
I found some Dutch guilders the other day.
Yeah, right, like pre-euro currency.
Exactly.
But yeah,
I just finished
cleaning.
listening to. Sorry to interrupt. I just finished listening to Sean Ryder's book, which is really funny, and he amazingly kind of said the same thing as you, as in he said he loves washing up. Like, he absolutely loves washing up. He loves that time he spends washing things up and getting them clean and putting them to one side. And he said his family just don't understand it. Obviously they're happy for him to do it, but it's like a real happy place for him. So maybe there's a bit of a kindred spirit there for you.
I love completing those tasks, but being as quite, I mean, I'd imagine very ADHD, undiagnosed as I am, it's one of those things. It's like, that goes down my priority and my other priorities, and I just get distracted by things and those jobs. But I will say, one of the worst moments, got to be top 15 of my life, was the other day coming back after 4 days in a field, and then coming back to looking after a 4.5-year-old because I single dad him for the rest of the time, and discovering that there was a filter on my dishwasher that I didn't know exist. So I opened the dishwasher and went, that's not right. And when I found that was, cleaning that was probably one of the top 15 worst moments of my life. That was not okay. And then when I got it done, the satisfaction was there. Well, I didn't know, I've had that dishwasher for years. That was a hidden filter and it wasn't okay. That should be illegal.
That's like the worst kind of surprise.
Yeah, absolutely not. I know where it is now, though. I'll look at it again in another 4 years, I suppose.
Well, you know where to go. You know where to go, Mark, if you need that filter cleaning next time. You know,
I wouldn't.
You know someone that's bang up for the job.
It's a dishwasher. How did it have that much hair in it? I don't understand.
Oh, my God. Right, come on, let's have another question.
Okay.
Let's fire him up.
Okay. I don't know if this is true. WD says, we've heard that you're quite the foodie. If your musical career were a recipe, what ingredients would it include to make it the most delicious and unforgettable experience for your listeners?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that true?
I don't know if I just, I mean, I like food.
Can I just jump in there and say, after I watched Kezia's show, we went out and got some food and she took a photo of it. So, you know, maybe that is evidence that you do like your food.
When you say went out, I mean, you're on a boat. I mean, it's a big ship. You're on a ship. Yeah. I mean, it's a big ship, but I mean, going out on a ship is kind of, can you go out on a ship?
You can, can't you, on the one we were on?
Yeah, you can. There's like different varying levels of restaurant and of eating experience. But with Johnny and I,
you think people just go to the good ones?
You would think. But no, the reason I was taking photographs of my food is because my husband and I are currently in this like dieting situation, and I was promising that I would be good because temptation is everywhere on the ship. The food is pretty much 24 hours, and you know, forget just the salad. It's the 3-course meal at every opportunity. So by way of taking a photograph of everything I ate, it was kind of me keeping up my side of the deal. But on this one occasion, I think it was the Saturday or the Friday, Johnny and I both been sort of going to the gym and eating well all through the week, and we'd said, look, let's go to this American diner, have a bit of a blowout. The food was fantastic. I wouldn't say I'm a foodie. I do enjoy my food. But I suppose really, trying to make a song is very much like trying to make a cake. All the right ingredients have to come together, and the more good stuff you put into it, the better it tastes.
Yeah.
I mean, what was he wanting to know? Was he saying? Was WD once? Was he saying? What was the end of the question? Because it's quite a long question. Was he saying your career or your, what your music is like?
If your music career were a recipe, what ingredients would it include to make it a delicious and unforgettable experience?
All right, is that even doable? To
I don't know.
Your career
it's a weird question. Now I read it back.
Food items.
Likening my career to food items is genuinely a new one on me. I feel like I should have one of those like blind date style answers where it's like a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat. I'm not that cool. I just think like as long as it tastes really nice and people enjoy it, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I cook. I make it up as I go, and it usually I've been told I'm a very good cook. I've never had a recipe for anything.
No,
I'd say at the moment it's probably got some pretty nice ingredients, some sweet ingredients, right? Because it feels to me like you're really flying along at the moment. Is that right? Would you agree with that? Like in terms of all the things you've done, because we chatted about that a bit when we were away. I feel like at the moment it feels like you are cooking. Just to bring it back to the food thing there, it feels like you actually are cooking.
Well,
come on,
do you know what? I'm gonna admit, and I'm not ashamed to say, things are going really well, and it's sort of off the back of probably 15. Nearly 20 years worth of like the proverbial slogging away. Pubs, clubs, back of the lorry. I've done the lot.
I can attest to it. I mixed some of them like 15 something years ago. And
so it is nice now that the kind of fruits of my labour, there's another one for you, are starting to ripen, and it's. I would never sit here and say, I've made it, things are going amazing, but they're certainly going more how I would want them to, how I envisioned them going. And it's nice. It's a nice feeling.
Well, it's well deserved, Kezia. And I said to Mark, I think I might have said it on the podcast, I do sometimes see someone and think, I think they're going to go on and do well. And then it has often come true. So I really hope that's the case for you, because I loved watching you perform. I'm going to come to the tour. I don't know if there's one that you can get to, Mark, as well. Maybe at the Derby. Are you doing a Derby show, Kezia?
No, our home show is going to be Nottingham, but we have literally just announced that one has sold out. But it was very interesting.
Unlucky, Mark.
It was interesting listening to your previous podcast about the so-called sold out bots, because I very much had the same issue with my last tour. And so now whenever we put out that a show is sold out, we basically use any word but sold out. So this morning
really
we went
interesting.
This morning we went for no more room at the inn. But yeah,
nice.
it's definitely it's a thing. But they flag certain words. So yeah, just don't use the SO words.
Because I was really confused by it, and then Mark was going, it'll just be robots and whatever, and then we started blaming it on WD-41 and all his mates. But yeah, it's interesting to say that you've had the same thing. Okay, well, that's a good thing to remember in the future then.
Yeah.
It's just different ways of saying that it's sold out without saying it. But then I guess what these machines are like, they'll get wise to that, won't they? They'll start.
Oh, they do. I've already had to delete a few. It's like miraculously after weeks and weeks of people not being able to get tickets, suddenly there's about 30. Oh, we can't go anymore. 4 tickets, DM me. It's like, no, delete.
Always 4 tickets as well.
Always 4 tickets.
The robots are getting like that. It's getting a bit Jurassic Park. It's getting a bit like Clever Girl. They're getting to the point. They can open doors now.
They're testing the fences.
Yeah,
they are. Well, listen,
exactly.
I don't trust AI ever since I heard Johnny Cash singing Barbie Girl. That was enough for me to completely go off AI.
Some of the voice changes now are hilarious. It's
crazy.
Scary.
It's scary.
And they can do them live.
Yeah. To think where this could go, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
It really is.
WD-41 is a bit shit because I threw him together in 2 days. But so he's like, thankfully, he's got some limits on him. He's got like, what was it in Star Wars where they had like these special clamps on them so that they couldn't have free thought.
Yeah,
he's got one. It's installed quite high up the chain, but
God.
he does have a ceiling, so he doesn't go completely off us. So he should be fairly safe, but I can make no guarantees.
Just food-based questions.
He just went to the internet. You've obviously gone on an interview somewhere and said, "I love food," and he's gone, right, I'll grab that one, and he's come up with the question.
Like we say, he didn't always get it right. Before we go to him again, what's the best way for people to find out about the tour? Do you want to do the dates now, or should we just give out like a web address and then people can go and have a look?
So luckily I have quite an unusual name, so there's not too much traffic. If you just search Kezia Gill, it will either take you to my website or sort of any recent publications, and Kezia Gill Tour will take you exactly where you need to be. We're doing 8 cities across the UK in October. And we're kind of hitting a lot of the major ones. Nottingham has sold out, and Bristol is extremely close to selling out. But there's still tickets for Scotland and Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham and Norwich. So plenty of places. And we're basically going to be performing the new album in full, hence why it's called the Misfit Tour. And there'll also be a few little surprises as have become standard at a Kezia Gill gig.
Brilliant. Okay, excellent. So yeah, definitely do check that out. I am going to try. I need to sort this out with you, Kezia, but I'm going to try and come to the London date because I really want to see the album live.
Yes,
I've been
London.
listening to it loads.
I forgot to mention London, but yes, well, that would be nice if you can make it.
Yeah, you forgot the capital city of the country, but we got there.
It gets enough airtime. It doesn't need any more.
Only the biggest night of the tour.
Let's see if WD41 can get this next one right. Fingers crossed. Here we go.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Right. Right. WD41 is asking you, they say laughter is the best medicine. So can you share a funny musical anecdote from your career that never fails to make you giggle?
Oh, gosh. A funny musical anecdote. You've put me on the spot there. I probably have loads, but I'm really terrible at this at just pulling something from the abyss of my mind.
Well, Johnny asked me a similar question the other day, and I was sat there thinking, there's thousands. How do I... It's like Netflix,
while you're
you can't find one to watch.
While you're thinking of it, let me just say something that made me laugh, which was that when I went out to do the cruise, Mark, I think I forgot to tell you this. I flew to Italy, and on the flight was like an exchange trip coming back home. So imagine about 30 or 40 kids that had all been on like a exchange to London or whatever. That's probably what they were doing. Okay. They're all arriving back home, which meant that in arrivals, all their families were there, really excited about like seeing them come back because they're like sort of like secondary school age or something like that.
Right. Okay.
I'm not talking like a mum or dad picking up their child. I'm talking like the entire family coming to meet one child. So the arrivals bit when I came out was absolutely. It was like a circle pit, like Monsters of Rock. It was absolutely mental. And I came out and I had my case and I had my guitar and everything. I was really like getting moved about by all these people thinking, what the hell is going on here? And I was looking for my name. I was looking for, someone holding a board up that said Johnny Awesome on it or whatever. I couldn't see anything and all the rest of it. And I went through the thing, didn't find it. Thought there must be somebody somewhere that's doing whatever. I had to go back into the pit, back into the circle pit to try and look back again and see where people are holding things up. Anyway, in the middle of all this stuff, and it was absolute total bedlam. Like a movie, this arm like reached in to the circle pit and just grabbed hold of me and said, "Are you trying to get on the ship to do like the P&O cruise?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she like pulled me out. It's like a film where someone goes under the water and you think they're going to die. And then the hand just like plunges in. And that was Kezia Gill. That's how we met. That was Kezia Gill. And she was basically watching me with the other comedian that was on the ship going, that guy, he definitely looks like he's supposed to be like with us on the thing. And he's just totally gormless, like wandering around in all these people. But yeah, she literally plucked me out of this sea of people. And then we went and got our taxi.
We saw him, we kind of clocked this slightly unsure guy, looking around with a guitar case. That was kind of the big thing. And the comedian Noel that I'd kind of met, because there's a guy that's standing with a sign with the ship on it, so we'd managed to find it quite quickly. And Noel had sort of said, "Oh, I wonder if he is the other guy that we're waiting for." And I said, I don't think so, because he's walked past us twice, and the guy holding up the sign with the name of the ship. So I'm pretty sure that he's not with us. Anyway, he continued to kind of look terrified and panic-stricken. And honestly, it's exactly how we described it. It was this throng of children and parents, and Johnny,
so
who's quite tall, was just in the middle, just looking around furiously. And I said to Noel, I was
like a meerkat.
Honestly, I was like, I don't even care if he doesn't speak English, and I embarrass myself. I need to go and ask this guy. So it was like...
Was he doing the John Travolta meme thing where he's just kind of walking backwards and forwards, not knowing
It just looked so... I mean, it had been an early start for all of us, like 4 a.m, the flight from Heathrow. And he just looked so relieved when I was like, are you joining the ship? And he was like, yes. And I was like, come with me.
I was so pleased that those two knew what they were doing. I was so out of it.
So relieved.
So, yeah. What amazing character reference that is, though. Like, what a nice person, right? How many like rock stars on the brink of being superstars would like bother to come into the mosh pit and save you? Not many. So that just shows you what you're dealing with there. Class, you see.
If it was me, I would have watched for a bit just for comedy.
You would have filmed it, Mark. You would have filmed it on your camera.
I would video of that, just laughing me bits off.
The sort of thing you sent me. So look at this guy. Yeah.
I said this. I mentioned this to Johnny. The last time I saw you on the gig, Kezia? Was that the one with the fucking Concorde?
Yes,
was that the last one? Have we done one since?
So that
I turned up and like, yeah.
So that would have been 2019. So I'm trying to think if you'd have been on any festivals since then.
Probably, yeah.
But
why was Concorde there? I don't understand that bit of it. Why was Concorde there?
We were where the Concorde was. I knew it was it's like a sort of like an aircraft
It's like
museum
an air,
thing.
it's like an air hangar at Manchester Airport where they have one of the Concordes, and it's basically just on display, and it's an event hire space, so you can have corporate parties. And we were both at the awards, so the British Country Music Association had hired this event space, and as part of the part of the evening, it was all performed under the belly of Concorde. It was fantastic. It's all uplit. What they probably should have thought about was the fact that it was November and it was absolutely freezing.
It was really cold, wasn't it?
You could see your breath, and we're all there in like awards gowns, and it was so cold.
I just went in there and I'm like, where am I going to point these speakers? There's a plane in the room.
Yeah.
It was cool, but it was also like freezing cold. I remember you saying it, like, it's just like, hands are freezing.
Honestly,
I can't do it.
Like I wish I'd brought like those buskers gloves.
Sleeves over my hands. Yeah.
I mean, that is a really good setting for a show. Could you go on Concorde and have a look at it, or was it all shut up?
Yeah, so you got to go on and you could sit, and there was, I think, certain seats were delegated to certain famous people. So the Queen had a certain seat, and some of the royal family, some famous presidents had seats, and it was really good. It was.
Oh, they were all there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All there for the British Country Music Awards.
They love their country. The Queen,
stuffed like
she
Jim
always
Henson
loves her country.
Loves a line dance.
Well, that's absolutely brilliant. Sounds great. Sounds really good.
It was good, yeah. It was cold, but great. You know, it's one of those gigs you turn up there and you're just like, really? Because I'll be honest with you, an airplane, lots of flat metal in the middle of an aircraft hangar, not potentially the best acoustic environment, if I'm being 100% honest with you. But I think we had a really good show out of it, from what I remember.
It was, and it was kind of... Yeah. It was the last big event that they did. Like, I feel like after COVID, they kind of scaled down the awards. There was a couple of closed ceremonies, obviously, when there was COVID. And now I think they're based in the Cavern Club in Liverpool, which is ultimately iconic, but a smaller setup.
Yeah, it's tiny,
It's a bit more industry-based. So, but that they were the good old days when the budget was there to be thrown away.
We should have a gig under a plane. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like the budgets were a bit different back then.
Wasn't everything pre-COVID?
Just going back to what WD41 was asking there, have you ever had anything when you've been doing one of your tours or one of your live shows that's happened on stage where it's sometimes funny when like something happens and you know it as a band, because I know you've got like a live band with you when you do it, and you can obviously front that, it's your thing, but it's sometimes funny when something happens and it's like the audience doesn't necessarily know that something's happened, but it's funny when the band does. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a moment sometimes where there's a bit of an in thing going on, like someone's missed just a note even or something. And like, do you have anything like that with your band?
Well, there's a couple of things. Like sometimes if we're ever using tracks with our shows, we'll all be on the in-ears, and obviously there's always basically the way in-ear monitors work. As a band on stage, we can hear certain things like count-ins or tempos, things like that the audience can't hear. And every now and again, the drummer will put like a funny sound bite or a meme on that only we can hear. So just before I'm due to come in, I'll get like hiya in my ear something. so that's what...
Okay, that is brilliant. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
So that's quite a good one. But really thinking about, there was one time when something made me laugh so bad I actually couldn't continue, and it was during again going back to COVID, when we couldn't do any public facing shows. I was doing live streams every Friday from my living room. It became a thing. We became known as the Friday Night Crew, and it was very interactive because people can comment, I can read the live comments, and we'd do different themes to keep it interesting. And this one particular week, I think it was Rock Week, so we're doing all the big rock bands. And people had started sending me little gifts and little sort of things to include on the podcast. And there was a woman that crocheted dolls, kind of knitted woolen dolls. And she'd made a little Kezia and she'd made a little Lloyd, who's my husband, and she'd sent these dolls in. And the Kezia doll, because it was a standing joke that I always used to do the podcast in my slippers, I had a pair of pink slippers. So this little doll of me, it had a blue top on, and it had like pink flesh coloured arms, and she was holding 2 pairs of pink slippers. And as I'm sort of showing everyone this doll, the arm fell off the doll. And I was like, oh no, this is so bad. But I was trying to like style it out. And I was like, oh, don't worry. Like my mum's very good at sewing. So I picked the arm up and I'm like waving the arm around, which is now just a long pink arm with 2 pink slippers on the end. And I'm waving it round next to my face like this, completely oblivious. And the comments just went berserk. And everyone was just like, stop it. Stop waving this long pink arm with 2 pink
your gesture's not helping. This is going to end up on Reddit as well.
This is making me think of that scene in Team America. Can you remember that scene in Team America with the puppets?
Yeah, that's
remember
what it was
that? They do
like
a love-making scene when the puppets are just banging into each other and everything. It's making me think of that. It's like a wool version of that.
I was oblivious to how bad it looked, but the waving of the arm and me going, oh, don't worry, we'll fix it and I'll sew it from here. And the comments were like, Kezia, put the arm down. Yeah. And then obviously all it ensued...
Is that still on your page, or did you delete it? Because that sounds like it needs to be watched or rewatched.
Well, loads of people were just sending screenshots of the moment where it just basically was me holding... It was just... And once they started posting them, I was laughing so hard that I was just like, do you know what? I can't sing Living on a Prayer now by Bon Jovi. The moment is over. Rock Week is done. This cannot be topped.
That's amazing.
When you're in that situation, you've got to lean into it. You have to lean into it.
I was crying. Like I had a very heavy black eyeliner look going on for Rock Week, and it was streaming. And it was like the more I laughed, the funnier everyone found it. And then it was just all the laughing, crying emojis. And when I say like the comments were just firing, and I was like, what's so nice is in this dark time when no one can leave the house, in houses all over the UK, people are just pissing themselves. That's the goal. It was so nice. It was so nice. Yeah, I literally laughed the show to a close. It was so funny.
On the upside, you could turn it into a 5-minute craft for Cradle of Filth makeup as well, you know, if you keep that footage. So that's how you do it. All you need is a phallic woolen arm.
It just came from something so innocent as well. That's the best bit about it. It came from like the loveliest sort of granny type thing. You turned it into total filth, Kezia Gill. I mean, like, what does that say about you? Right?
We've all got skills.
Who knew?
Also, this is a good segue into another question I had for you, which was, you have told me this, but I basically want you to tell Mark this and the listeners, because it really, really made me laugh when you told me. Saxy Sunday. Which is as good as it sounds.
Again,
born
out of lockdown.
Story. Don't leave anything out.
So again, lockdown, I just feel like everyone was blessed with all this time that they'd never had.
Right.
And something I've always wanted to do since I was very young is learn to play the saxophone.
Right.
So I was like, well, this is obviously as good a time as any. So managed to buy sort of like, mid price range saxophone, watched all the YouTube tutorials, kind of started to master the basics, and talking about it on my live streams and everything like that. People were really keen. They were like, oh, share some videos. So I was like, do you know what? It would be really good for me to set myself a weekly task of maybe covering certain songs or having a go, and putting it out on social media as a sort of marker of my progress. So I started up something called Saxy Sundays. And it was just exactly that, me showing my progress of how I was getting on with the saxophone on Sundays. But where I fell down is that I am terrible. Truly terrible at the saxophone. And I was
I'll let you into something.
I was broadcasting 17,000 people on my Facebook weekly. Like squeaking notes and like, that's so bad. And in the end I was like, guys,
honking away.
Just reverb is the only way.
Oh my God.
Like 60% of saxophones live on stage, when someone gets someone blows into one, you're just like, oh my God, where's the reverb?
So much reverb.
You just need it. You've got to go straight for it.
And so much editing. Because I made the mistake. The first few I did, I was like, I'm just going to do this live. And then I was like, no. This needs to be pre-recorded. I need to do 50 takes and then piece together the notes.
What are you like now? Does it come together?
Whoa. Tell Mark how it finished. It did not finish with Baker Street. Let me tell you that.
I'd love to say. No, it finished with a rather terrible rendition of Brenda Lee rocking around the Christmas tree, and I'm
not sure anyone could make that sound good on the sax, even like the best player in the world.
It's got like that great saxophone solo, hasn't it? Do 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 do. You know, like the dancing scene in Home Alone. I was like, I'm gonna go full throttle with this. And it was just so bad. And again, I chose to do that one live on the Christmas live stream. And again, just the crying face emojis. It were just like, Kezia, you're really good at writing songs. Like, you've got a great voice, but put the fucking saxophone down.
Who's it like?
Was that the last one?
Was it like as somebody dropped a chocolate bar because this is a careless whisper?
It was so bad.
Did you have to stop after Christmas? Was it Christmas the last one? Did it just finish?
I put a public service announcement out. I was like, guys.
It was just an injunction. People got together and there was like an injunction. Just said, no.
It was like, we do not support this anymore. Stop it.
She was losing a lot of followers.
Followers.
I've never had so many
while
unlikes.
she was on air.
Oh, amazing.
That's brilliant.
Well,
you know what? Well done for trying, though. You know, you've got to give it a go. You never know. You could have been a whole new thing. But I've watched you live playing the guitar and singing. And I think, stick to that, mate.
Honestly, God loves a tryer. I mean, this was kind of the infuriating thing is because I grew up around music and I've always, like, I play piano or play tin whistle. And I thought, oh, how hard can it be? You know, and apparently it's a whole different art form.
17,000 people can tell you the answer to that.
Quite hard.
Bad. Yeah, so bad. But I mean, I've kept it. It's in the back of the cupboard gathering dust. You know, Saxy Sundays may still be resurrected, but certainly no time soon.
Yeah, it's the title as well that makes that whole story so good as well, because you just think, while that's all going on, you missed a bit out. You said to me when you were telling me about it, you said, I spent all week dreading Sunday.
I was like,
dreading it coming round because I had to do another saxophone thing in front of my audience. I thought it was brilliant. It really made me laugh.
It was a terrible time.
I bet it gave a lot of joy to people.
Oh, you know. Undoubtedly. All at my expense. But, you know, I'm the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, that's basically how I live my life. Like, that's one thing I realised when I became like a pro comedian, was that when something really awful happens, you know, you normally think, oh my God, this awful thing. But now you think, well, that's the material.
Content.
It's actually, you know, like I always think, well, I can tell Mark about that on Wednesday. So, you know, that's something. Should we have another question?
Yeah, let's have another one. Come on, WD. Wake up. Wow. If you were to organise a musicians versus aliens battle, which famous musician would you pick as your teammate to defeat the extraterrestrial invaders?
Oh gosh.
God, that is
It's a twist on the zombie apocalypse team.
It is a little bit, isn't it? I feel like Tina Turner would never let me down. And I'm thinking like the kind of Thunderdome get up. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
and I'm just thinking like that kind of warrior energy. And I just feel like
that's a powerful woman.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I feel like I would happily go into battle with Tina Turner against any aliens or otherwise, to be fair. I don't think there's many people that would take her on. And, you know, if all else failed, I'd die next to my hero. So...
Do you know what? I think that would be a great Kezia Gill song. I would happily go into battle with Tina Turner. I also think that's a great T-shirt. I think I would buy a T-shirt that said, I would happily go into battle with Tina Turner.
That might be the episode name now. You might have just coined it.
I would happily go
have just
into
found the
battle
title there. Yeah, but I could hear you singing about that. I think that could be quite good. Like just paint some picture of a total apocalypse, Mad Max type situation. You and Tina on the front line.
That's what I'm thinking.
There's something in that.
I mean, the look is strong,
Great
isn't
answer.
it? Yeah.
I've always loved Tina, but it wasn't until I watched the documentary about her, I think it was a Sky Arts one, that I realised she was totally a rock star. I think because of all her later work. Yeah, but what I mean is like because of all of her later work, and you think of like Simply the Best and all sorts of things, and a lot of her sort of like really big like hits and the way they're produced and stuff. There's so much footage of her performing earlier days in that documentary that I kind of and knocking around with Rolling Stones and people like that. And I sort of thought she is, you know, she did sort of, I suppose, become like a sort of a huge household name, and she was, you could look at it as like a pop star or whatever, but really she was like rock, I think, like totally rock singer, rock star. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that on the surface, and I think like just how people just instantly think of Tina Turner, I think that gets a bit missed sometimes. It did by me. I just didn't realise she was such a sort of band live kind of, you know,
an incredible life, ups and downs. You know, it was really. If you read about her life, there was a couple of sort of biopic films that were quite good. A couple, I think, have been done now. But she's a phenomenal woman. Incredible.
Yeah, and I think for me, like I've always found
foot to the floor till the end.
Oh yeah, and I've always found her so inspirational. Not only as a woman that's creating music, but as a slightly older woman. Not old as in old, but you know, I'm no Billie Eilish. And I think the fact that she didn't actually break as an independent rock star until like 41, 42, after being with the Ike review, and coming back from that and having nothing but her name. And then it was the likes of the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, a lot of British artists that kind of got behind her. I mean, she was, so I'm 35. So at my age, she was a cabaret singer in Vegas, and she was singing in club rooms. And she was like, I thought I'd never get out of that. And it's the amount of times I've kind of thought, oh, you know, you're getting a bit old now, like you're starting to, you know, you're on the wrong side of 35. But no, she did it. So that's what keeps me creating music and keeps me trying to make something of myself. She's massively inspirational. And like I said, she's so badass.
Go on.
Honestly, I just think...
I'm 42, so there's still hope for me at this point.
Hope for all of us, Mark.
See? Yeah.
I heard an interview with... just leave me out, guys. I heard an interview with Steel Panther, or the singer from Steel Panther, and he was talking about how they used to have a residency in Vegas and play in Vegas. And they used to call being in Vegas as a band, they used to call it the Velvet Coffin. And what they meant by that was it was like luxury and this like sort of like deluxe thing. But if you stayed there, you were basically just going to, you know, go into the ground and sort of die there. Like, you know, on the surface, they said they were driving around in these like nice cars and they were staying in like the biggest suites and all the rest of it. But actually, they weren't getting anywhere at all. So it's interesting you just said that, because it's a similar thing, you know. And then
musical stasis.
They had to come away from it to get that band going.
It's funny. It's a really interesting analogy, because I've had this conversation really, I mean, it's like, take it back to the cruise ships. I'm so fortunate that I get to work on the cruise ships doing both cover work and my original material. I get to travel all over the world. And I've said before, that in itself would be such a rewarding career to be able to do that full time. And people I know that do this full time, they'll do like 20, 30 cruises a year, and like they're never off the ships. And again, it can be so tempting to just say, that's the life I want to lead. Same with kind of the cabaret circuit, playing places like London or hotels, big money for short sets. It's such a cozy little thing that you can get into.
Booked in and safe.
Exactly. Yeah. And sort of doing original music is always the out in the cold option. But I had that exact thing when I worked in Lanzarote for 7 years. And I was lead singer of a resident band. We did 6 nights a week. There was no sort of carrying your gear. There was no long drives. There was no pitching for shows. Every night of the week, I just go down, flick my guitar on, flick my keyboard on. And I was on great money. And I got to 25 and I said to my husband, if I don't leave this island now, I will never leave. I will never go. If I don't go and try and do my own music, which meant going home and living with my parents, singing for no money, because there's, you know, arguably not a lot of money when you're trying to start out and you're doing your own thing. And it was like, always, if I don't do it now, I never will. So I totally get that coffin analogy, because it can get really cozy doing stuff like that.
Well, I'm glad you did, mate. I'm glad you did.
And I still get to do the odd cruise, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, you could. A quick fleeting visit with the velvet coffin isn't too bad.
A little lie down,
just dip out. As long as they don't shut the lid, you're all right.
Yes.
Going back to that Sean Ryder book, which is, I really recommend it. It's very funny. It's called How to Be a Rock Star. There's a story in that when he said he stayed at someone's house. He was like obviously totally off his face because it's Sean Ryder, and like nearly all the stories are from sort of back in the day when he used to be like that. And he said he was just so tired, and the only place that he could find to sleep was in a coffin, because they were about to have a funeral and the body hadn't been like brought over from the thing or whatever, and there was a coffin in the house. And he said, so I just got in the coffin for a kip. He said, I think the bloke who lived there was all right with it or something. I was just thinking, God, how could you relax and go to sleep being in a coffin? But that just sums up Sean Ryder.
That's quite a lot of drugs, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I think we know the answer, actually.
It's the most Sean Ryder thing I've ever heard.
Wow. The book is just, it's really funny. It's just full of things like that, just full of stuff like that, just crazy things. But yeah, no, I think that's some interesting stuff. And sometimes it is about taking that leap in order to, to get to, what you really want. And like, and also, if it, like anything, if you try and do it and it doesn't work out, it's better to have done that and sort of think, well, I gave it everything, I tried everything, rather than you being Lanzarote, and much older in the future thinking, oh, maybe I could have done this, or maybe I could have played under Concord, or
it's the kind of it's the rocking chair sort of analogy, isn't it? When you start rocking at the end of your years, you want to look back and say, do you know what, I had a bloody good go. I always say, like, going back to your previous comment about, things are really going well for you. I have always said since I was very young, I will either make it or I will die trying. And I hope that's one thing people will either say, she only went and did it, or I'll be able to say I had a really good go at it. And I get to travel all over the world. I get to sing my own songs. I get to tour. I get to meet great people like yourself and do great things like this. And I'm really fortunate. I really am. Very grateful for it.
Well, let's have another question, but I honestly do think that it will pay off. I think it's going to come in. The ship is going to come in.
We're going to get a jar, and every time one of us says boat.
Yes.
Right, WD, still there, mate? Okay, so WD says, they say musicians can find inspiration in the most unexpected places. Can you tell us about the strangest or funniest place you found musical inspiration?
That is true. I find it everywhere. It's usually sort of things that people will say, or literally it happened last night. I was watching Yellowstone, of all things.
Right. Okay.
Other Western dramas are available. And somebody said on it, it's like two businessmen and they're in a meeting, and one of them says to the other, "Oh, you're dancing with the devil on that one," talking about a deal. Sort of, you're dancing with the devil on that one. And he just turned around really cool and went, "There's no angels left to dance with." And I was like, boom! If that's not a country song, I don't know what is. Went straight in the notes, straight in the notes. So that's the next song I've got to have a go. I thought, what a line. Dancing with the devil.
I think it's going to be a duet, you and Kevin Costner together.
I think so. I need to DM
It is Kevin Costner, isn't it?
It is,
in Yellowstone?
it is.
Is it Kevin Costner? Yeah.
But yeah, literally, I can be sat watching telly. I saw one once. I can't think off the top of my head what it was, but I was in a Panda Express in America, which is basically like an Oriental takeout place. And they've got like the fortune cookie pictures on the wall of all the, the kind of mantras and morals and sayings. And I took pictures of about 4 of them because I was like, I'm going to write a song basically based on these fortune cookies. The one's about like life's road and enjoying the journey. Don't worry about the destination and learn to dance in the rain and all that crap. So literally anything from a Chinese takeaway to a night in with Netflix, I will get inspiration.
That's the great thing about country music. You've got a lot of remit of grabbing for stuff like that, haven't you? Yeah. I mean, we've all, the one about like your dog being dead and your wife left you, that one, that's been done to death. So, you can grab.
I think it's going to get to the point, when Kezia's like a big star, it's going to get to the point where the label's going to be like, right, we need another album. She's going to be like, oh, okay, fine. Going to go in the studio, get a great big box of fortune cookies, put it down on the desk. Get the first one out, break it. It's going to say something like, "You may be on the wrong road, but there are other roads," or something. She'll be like, "Right,
it's a country
here
song."
we go. And then 10 minutes later, there's a brand new country song about roads.
We play this game. We do this, like me and some of the guys that I work with on the regular for different companies. We have this sort of game where somebody will say something and it will just sound like a band name or a difficult third album or something like that. And my mate Alan, he's got a list on his phone of hundreds of these, and they're just they're gold. And we were, after we packed up the show and stuff, we were going through them in the VIP bar afterwards, just in stitches at them. I think the last one I added to it was Functional Pergola, which I'm definitely playing upstairs at the Dog next week. That's for a conversation. Does anyone know what a pergola's for? Because I keep seeing people posting them. They've made them in their garden. I'm like, there's no roof on it. What's it for?
Some kind of wall-less structure, isn't it? That's just the top.
Well, it's got a thing, Someone was saying that you're supposed to grow stuff over it,
like a rubbish bandstand.
Put a lid on it with a hole. Yeah, exactly. And I said, you put a lid on it and a chimney and you put a barbecue under it. Functional pergola.
It's like, it's got a roof, usually hexagonal or some form, and then it's on struts,
slats.
Would you say? Slats. And you barbecue under them or like grow stuff up them.
It's just beams.
But there ain't no roof on it.
It's the most middle-aged thing you'll ever purchase.
Middle-aged, middle class. They're sprouting up everywhere.
Innit?
Yeah.
It's funny, we had... Again, going back to my live streams, I used to play the keyboard, which you can see behind me. And we used to have kind of like a comedy feature where, because I love playing piano, but the fun thing is with using keyboards, they come with some truly terrible inbuilt rhythms, like everything from salsa to big band to polka to bluegrass. And I would do like really bad keyboard demos and play them. And I remember it was one week and it fell over Easter, and I used to just say the boys in the band. I'd say, look, we're going to get the boys in the band in. We're going to do a quick step or a foxtrot. We're going to get the boys in the band in. And because it was Easter, somebody just commented out of the blue, we should call them the Hot Cross Bun Boys. And that was it. It stuck. So now wherever I go, people ask me if my set will be featuring the Hot Cross Bun Boys.
That sounds like a different kind of show to me.
With the Bossa Nova
Hot Cross Bun Boys.
The Bossa Nova Hot Cross Bun Boys. It just became a thing, and it was always made me laugh. But again, it's like such a context thing. So anyone that wasn't there at the time would be like, "What?" It's like, you had to be there.
Bossa Nova Hot Cross. Didn't she play second oboe for Mud on the Chap? You see, this is the game. That's the game right there.
I love it. I went to a wedding yesterday, and the best man, he did a brilliant speech. It was so funny. One of the things he talked about was how he used to be in a band with the guy that was getting married, and then one other guy, and it was like back when they were at school that they didn't do anything, but they were called pedestrian crossing. That's what they were called. But the way he did it, the way he spoke about it was so funny. He basically was talking about it as if they were like a massive band, and that had split up a long time ago. So at one point he went, so yeah, he was like he's really good at doing deadpan, and he went, so yeah, you are sat in the room today with the original members of pedestrian crossing, like that. And obviously everybody was just like going, what? And I find it really funny. I thought, this is such a good joke. Like, no one knows what you're talking about, but he's pretending it's like you are in the band with the original, you're in the room with like the original E Street Band or whatever. And I go, oh my God, that's amazing. He was like, with the original pedestrian crossing. And it was like, just a sort of in joke for him and his mates that were in that band. But yeah, I found it really funny. I thought it was lovely. Brilliant.
OG Ped Cross.
I think we've probably got time for one more question before we play out with a Kezia song.
Okay, right. Should we have a serious question or a jovial question? What should we ask WD for?
Let's have a jovial one.
Let's keep the fun going. I reckon we're having a right laugh, aren't we? Let's keep the jovial going.
Fun going.
Okay,
keep the fun going and the magic.
Let's have a quick chat with WD. Okay, all right. WD41, can we have a jovial question, please? Okay, so WD41 says, if you could form a band with talking animals as your band members, which animal would play each instrument, and what quirky genre would you perform together? There we go. Nice and easy one to answer.
Okay, so I'm immediately gone Disney with this. Immediately, that's where my head goes. Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, again, I'm quite a practical thinker, so I think there's got to be some form of octopus on the drums. Imagine the fills.
Good. Yeah.
Are you getting me? Do you know what I mean?
I like that.
And I feel like specifically maybe like a Jamaican Rastafarian octopus, like with the dreads and the hat. I think that would be a really cool look, and it'd have some like really tight grooves. So that's happening in the back. Now the bass is usually quite a serious but cool guy. So I'm trying to think of a really cool animal now. I'm thinking like
a sloth.
That is a very slow walking bass line.
I don't know if I'd be able to keep time, if I'm honest.
No.
A sloth.
Okay, a sloth on cocaine. Cocaine sloth.
They're playing upstairs at the Dog next week.
Yeah, they're on next week, the cocaine sloth. I think some kind of wolf could make quite a cool bass player.
Yeah.
I think like shades.
Okay.
Maybe just the waist.
With the sunglasses.
Yeah, wolf with shades.
Okay, can I just stop? Did anyone imagine the bassist not wearing sunglasses?
Never.
No. For me,
Never.
It was either a bear or a hippo in sunglasses. That's where I was going.
Okay,
but a wolf I like.
I see you trying. I think a wolf. Yeah. I think like the low glasses. Maybe some kind of waistcoat. I just think super cool with it. A good little grey beard, maybe.
Yeah.
Just soul,
got one of them.
I
think the wolf would Wolf's got his collar up.
100%.
Can I get a Soul Wolf t-shirt, please? I'd like a Soul Wolf t-shirt for Christmas.
With the collar up?
Make it happen.
Or, collar up.
Popped collar, sold wolf.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
This is the best. Okay.
Who's on guitar?
So, okay, right. We've got the rhythm.
Who's on sax?
We've got R&B sorted. Right. Drums,
Kezia.
bass. So sax, I want.
Come on.
It's a big one. It's a big roll. I'm going to go gorilla sax. Big fat gold chain.
Yeah.
And I just think like, and what will be funny is massive gorilla, massive arms, massive little tiny alto
and small sax.
Little tiny sax.
Alto.
Yeah.
Just tune it like a kazoo. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Yeah. So I think that's a strong one. I think rhythm, kind of lead guitar. Again, it's a bit edgy, isn't it? It's a bit out there. I'm going to go meerkat.
Meerkat.
Like he pops up for his solo. And
just pops up for a solo.
Where's he going? And
I
he'll
like
just pop up, and he's like, there he is with his little solo. I feel like he wears his guitar quite high. Do you know what I mean? His little arms.
Yeah.
I think that's a look. I'm obviously on lead vocals, but I think we're going to finish it off with 3 crayfish for BVs. I think that'll like
crayfish.
a car wash vibe. Little pink sparkly number. I think that's the lot.
Or you could get a big lobster on keys, ironically.
just 2 big claws.
Yeah.
No dexterity.
That's not going to work on the audio version of the podcast, is it? They'll have to picture what went on there.
What are you going to call this band, though?
It's going to be... I mean, I feel, again, very on the spot. It's going to be Kezia Gill featuring...
I think it should be Kezia Gill and the...
Kezia Gill and the Jungle Jamboree.
There we
Official.
Go. Yeah.
Massive.
I'd go and see it.
Official. Just for the Facebook page.
Imagine the rider.
Imagine the rider.
Imagine what that lot would
It'd
want.
probably be no weirder than most of the ones that I get through when I'm doing festivals. What do you mean?
Is it?
What do 3 crayfish want on a rider? That's what I want to know. What do they want?
Just 3.
What do they really want?
Giving it that like in the background.
I like the way that they're in the tank and they just pop up, do the vocal, and go back under again. Yeah.
I think it says a lot
sick.
about me as an artist that was my favourite question of the whole interview.
Well, WD41, he doesn't disappoint.
He did not. He took it up. He took it up on the high.
Somehow he always pulls it out the bag.
He does.
We always discover something about him. When Frank Turner was on, we worked out that he smokes Marlboro WD-41.
Well, Galloway's rolled in his Jatan whilst his girlfriend throws his clothes out the window in black and white. That's
you need to listen to the episode, but basically we realised that he's like a heavy smoker.
Yeah.
So that came out. But
it's just a wrong one.
I think he's done brilliant questions today. And Kezia, you've been such a great guest. We know that you've got to go to do something else, so we are going to wrap this. But before we go, can you tell us about the song that you picked? I asked you to do this, but I asked you to pick a song so we could play out with one of yours. But can you tell us about it before we play it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today, guys. It's been a blast. And
you're very welcome.
It's a real pleasure to have this song on the show. It's basically the title track of my album Misfit, which was released a couple of weeks ago. The title track being called Misfit, and it's a little bit of a celebration of my music and me, where I feel like I am at the moment as an artist. Kind of spent quite a few years trying to figure out where I belong in terms of genre. I love country music, I love Americana, but I'm very heavily influenced by rock and blues. I love listening to soul, and I was starting to find it quite challenging to just fit into one box. So I decided to kind of smash the walls down and embrace the fact that it's kind of okay to be a little bit of everything and not quite fit anywhere. So here is Misfit.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for being a brilliant guest. We'll be back next week with a normal podcast, but for now, the amazing Kezia Gill and Misfit. Go and buy tickets for the tour as well while you're listening to it.
Breaking up with the girl, staring back from the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck, waiting for the storm to pass. And she looks just like me, but she don't look like them. It's looking like she might be right about everything. Only the lonely know it, only the phony show it. Don't know where I've been in, don't know where I begin. Spending my life wondering, is anybody listening? I'm running out of time, trying to walk a wavy line. Guess it's best I just admit that I was born a misfit. Crowd pleasing, no one sees. I shouldn't take a mind reader, trying to keep one eye on the prize as she takes a breather. She doesn't know the moves, but she can the blues. It's looking like she really might have nothing left to lose. Only the lonely know it, only